Hey guys, welcome back to Rough and Stitch Options Trading, and I wanted to do a quick recap on the market this week. Just a few things I'm watching. Number one, I'm watching VIX to see what it does this week. I mean, in the previous week, we saw how quickly we went up to, this was on Monday, we saw how we quickly went to this area that I had initially stated out here, about $35, and we came back down really quickly. And then you can see how it's starting to build higher lows and higher highs. So just by this candle, you can see how it's starting to build higher lows and higher highs. So coming into this week, we may so two scenarios here. We may potentially see a continuation back to test this area. Now, a key thing to note is that on VIX, we do have a gap. When you go to the daily time frame, we do have a gap about $35 to about $36, $37, right? We have a gap here. So coming this week, this is an area of interest. And then just guys, remember this week we have PPI coming out. We have the Fed minutes coming up this week. I think it's on Wednesday. So those are some two key things to really watch out for and see what happens with VIX and the entire market. So right now, I want to see going into tomorrow or this week, I want to see what VIX is going to do. Probably will continue going up. Let's just come here. So probably we continue going up like that. Retry this area again. Remember, we have a gap here. So those are some key things to watch out for. Let's look at QQQ. So on QQQ, again, we've really been trying to, and this is on the weekly time frame, we've really been trying to kind of really stay above this area of 596 and 92 cents, just about that area. We can see how last week ended. We tried to push all the way to 613, and look at what happened. We sold all the way back to about $593. So we do have this liquidity right here, and two scenarios may happen here as well. We may see QQQ going into next week, try to come back above this area, try this area again, or scenario number two, we may see QQQ come and grab this liquidity area right here, probably move like that, and continue with this trend that it's been doing. It's a very slow downward trend. I mean, every tiny little dip or whatever, it's not even really a dip. Every tiny small sale, you find buyers are coming in, retail traders are coming in and buying that. So it's just a really slow downward movement, very, very slow. I mean, my ideal scenario, because I mean there's this area, we got the 580 area where we have this liquidity right here. We have this area 559, 560. We have this key area at 542. And if you've not watched the previous videos, this was a previous resistance. It never really came to test support here. I mean, this is an area that I would really like for QQQ to just come down here, find support here, find buyers right here, support right there, and maybe we can have getting back on the upward trend, hopefully a V-shaped liquidity, or number two, have a consolidation down here, find buyers, and continue moving upwards. So to wrap this up, two scenarios: either QQQ gets above this area 596, keeps pushing up further, or scenario number two, we come and grab this liquidity right here, come retest this again, and maybe continue with this downward trend that we've been going through, this very slow downward trend. Let's look at SPY. So the same thing as SPY, we have a liquidity right here at $653. Looking at how this last week's candle really closed, I mean, it doesn't look very, very good. You can see SPY came all the way to about 682, lost 20 bucks, it closed at 662. So doesn't look very, very good. Again, a key thing that I'm watching here is this liquidity right here. We have this liquidity right here, watching for that to see if it's going to get picked. Maybe again, the same scenario as QQQ, grab that liquidity, push upwards, and maybe continue with this downward trend. Alternatively, we may see scenario number 2, SPY opens higher and tries to push back up again to this resistance right here at about 683. Maybe retry that, see what happens there. But those are my 2 options going into next week. Overall, if QQQ, like for example, like if QQQ comes to this area of 540, I would imagine that SPY would definitely do the same thing. We have a similar setup there. It never came to retest this area for support at about 612, 613. So again, a very slow chop. I mean, it's really not doing anything. We are just up and down, really nothing. Like I said, my ideal scenario would just be a flash, we come back here, find support here, and start going upwards. Let's look at the Mag 7. AMD, not looking that great. Again, you can see it's starting to really round up or round down on the weekly 21. You can see, let's do this. You can see this week here, you can see this week here, you can see this week here. Now, AMD, we have a gap, and I'd mentioned this before. We have this gap from, this is about 171. We have that gap right there. So this is a key area of interest, considering it closed at about 193, 193.39 cents. So this is a key area interest on AMD. I'm not really ready to get into AMD right now until I see what happens with this gap. Same thing as Microsoft. We see it's been really trying to push, but the energy is just not there. We can see it try to hold here. Let's come to the daily. You can see a dead cat bounce, tried dead cat, but again, you can see how it's really rounding on the, this is a daily 21. I'm still not ready, and that's just my opinion. I'm still not ready to get into Microsoft because remember, we have this gap down here at about 368, 372. So again, same thing as Microsoft. I'm not very ready to get into this right now because, I mean, the overall market context, it's still a bit sketchy. We have this gap here. And, the thing is, you don't want to enter into, if you're trading calls, you don't want to enter into calls right here. And then you're pushed further down while Microsoft is trying to come and fill up this gap. So I'm just going to be patient, and that's just my advice to all of you. Just be a little bit patient. Let's see what happens, especially this week. We have PPI, we have the Fed minutes, and really the geopolitical wars didn't really do anything to act as a catalyst for the downward move. So I'm just going to be holding my horses and see what happens next. Let's look at Amazon. Now, Amazon, the same thing. We can see it really tried to push. Let's come to the weekly. Okay, let's get rid of that. So we can see, and this is the thing I was talking about. You can see a consolidation on the 100 right here. You can see it tried to do the same thing. But again, this candle right here, this week, candles that have very long wicks, they're not that great because they indicate there is a rejection right here at 217. Now, Amazon going into next week, the same thing. It keeps dancing in between the 100 and the 200. The 200 is just way far away. That's on the weekly time frame. On the daily time frame, you can see it's below all the key moving averages. There's really nothing down here left. So coming on the weekly, we can see right here, this candle not that great. We have this, it's been trying to hold this area 200s and above, but not really making it. It's not a very clear picture for me on Amazon. So if something is not that clear to me. I kind of stay away from it just until, it paints a very much clearer picture than this, because at this point in time, we don't know. You can't really tell, because we are not smart money. You can't really tell if this is its support, if it's just gonna hold here. You can't really tell. Again, not a very clear picture for me. Coming into NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is really, really holding the fort, and I really like this. I mean, the same thing as what SPY was doing, really trying to get above this weekly 21. We are still above the key support that it had here, but you have you have these pending liquidities down here. So coming into next week, we want to see, is it going to keep on holding above 174? If not, you have a liquidity down here at 164. You have this other key area right here that is of concern to me. Will it, if it will come and test this area of 153? So again, just wait and see what happens, especially with the Fed minutes and the PPI this coming week. Just wait and see what happens at that point. I think I've covered all the major Mag 7 stocks. Apple. Let's look at Apple. Well, Apple, I mean, you can see the whole shebang right here. Really tried to get above. Let's come to the daily. It's much clearer. So you can see how it was, it broke the trend line right there. Tried to come back, hit that close to that daily 21, ended up with a doji, and then you can see. So probably Apple, we're looking at the 200, about 245. You have these candles right here, liquidity pickups, about 243. So yeah, 245, 243 on Apple. And let's look at the weekly. So again, just same thing here. You got this liquidity candle, this liquidity to be grabbed right here. So that's an area I'm looking at, 243. You have this 50, 100, almost catching up there. So this will be very interesting to see what Apple does when this catch up there. Will it stay above those key moving averages? Will it come back down as what all the others are doing? So another area of interest that I wanted to mark here, just for the purposes of remembering this, is this right here. So right here, well, what is this? The 100 is right there. So this is just another area of interest I'll be looking at. If it comes here, fails to find buyers right here, you have this area here. You have here where it did the breakout. So just some areas to watch out for and see what happens. Not necessarily saying that it's going to drop all the way to 215, but just things you have to keep in mind, because when it comes to looking at these charts and really trying to understand, it's about setting all the probabilities on the table. I mean, you can't really just say, okay, well, it will come here to 243, we'll find support here, we'll go back up. The other aspect of this that you have to put in mind is that, what if it fails at this area? You have to consider all the probabilities, put them on the table so that well, if it fails here, you have this area of interest. If it fails here, you have this area of interest. That's pretty much it. Just setting out all the probabilities that may potentially happen so that you can be aware of them and know about them, so that you're not hanging on to a trade and it's a losing trade and you're like, well, buyers are gonna step here. What if they don't step in there? What if smart money is trying to get the best price possible by pushing the prices further down so he can get a discounted rate on the contracts? So that's just a thing to note. Not everything is always just, bearish or bullish, but it's good to have your probabilities of the table. If this happens, then this happens. If this fails to happen, then this happens. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share for today. Let's look at what happens tomorrow. I'll be keeping an eye on VIX, trying to see if VIX continues pushing up high. We have this area it came to try here. See if it comes back there again. We have a gap here. See if it comes back there. So that's all I wanted to share. pretty much for this evening. So thank you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.